Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the Mr. Cool DIY mini split that you can install yourself. I've got two of them. One I installed, it's up here, it's running right now. It's been in there for a couple of months and I've had some experience on both heating and cooling. So I'm going to cover all that, how well it works, maybe what you can expect. I'll cover the shop size and how much is insulation in here and that kind of thing. And when that's done, I am going to install another one. It's the exact same size. They're both 2-ton units. I'll be unboxing this one, spraying it out all over the floor, and installing it. I'll show you how I mounted on my shop wall, how I did the power, everything like that. So you can decide if you're up for this yourself. I had this in a couple months ago, and I'm in North Texas. I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I want to say it gets cold here. I mean, it has its moments. We had a couple days where it didn't get over 19 degrees. But other than that, 30s, 40s, 50s in the winter. And so heat wasn't something I was really concerned about. This is a 2-ton unit or a 24K unit. And it has, I think it was like 25,000 BTU heat setting. And it's a heat pump. It doesn't use resistive heat like heat coils. And the problem with that is that the colder it gets, the less efficient it gets. That said, I did compare this with my other heat system, which is a unit I pulled out of a double wide manufactured home. I've just got sitting on the ground right here. What I did do is I had it sitting on the table and I had it wired straight into there. I had it wired straight into the power box and I had 3 of the 4 elements running and I would fire it up. It would be in the low 30s in the shop and it warmed it up into the low 60s within an hour and a half-ish. The ducting was less than ideal. I had future plans of actually mounting it up and down above the power box and actually running ductwork all the way up into the middle of the ceiling so it can pull down the warmest air and then blow straight out, and had all these plans and stuff. What set me off that was my power bill. So running that thing, it would suck about 62, 63 amps to heat the place up. And I would only run it like a couple of hours during the day while I worked on some stuff and I was doing other wiring projects and blah, blah, blah. And it would more than double my power for the day. And when I mean more than double, I mean just a couple hours. I'm also heating and powering a 2,400 square foot house. It's all electric. And that over there would just, it was just ridiculous. And so I really accelerated in installing this one, and this, since it's a heat pump, it did okay. It would also warm it up into the 60s. It seemed, running the numbers, that put out a little over 60,000 BTUs. It's an 80,000 BTU unit, but I was only running 3 out of the 4 elements. Each element is a 20 amp. The motor is supposed to take about 3 amps when it's running, probably a little bit less since I have it under like a duct load. This, I didn't measure at the time, but it's supposed to take about, it's rated for like 15 amps. It's the best I could find online. So that alone, even though it's a little bit less than half the BTU rating, sucks 1/4 of the power. And honestly, it didn't seem weaker. In fact, it seemed better. I don't know if it was because of the placement and how it pushed the air through, or if it was actually pushing it down to where I was working, but it heated the shop up faster. It seemed like I got better heat out of it. And I planned on keeping that other unit up in the corner in case it got really cold. I had it, I could supplement. Honestly, I don't think I'm going to hook it up because this did that good. And if I needed if it got really cold and I needed heat, I think I'd look into like a propane solution or just something else entirely. Because that sucker, it was bad. Let's talk about cooling. That's why I really bought these things. I moved from the PNW down here, and it was like literally 114 degrees here, 100 degrees, over 100 degrees a month and a half, almost straight. And if it wasn't over 100, it was 99 degrees, and that was rough. And so that's why I bought these things, is could I air condition the shop enough that it'd make it decent? It's looking like it is. So it's already had a couple of moments this year. It's been up in the 90s. And I came out here and I ran it to see how well it did. It did pretty good. So I took a couple pictures. I'll throw them up here. But at one point, I think it was 96 degrees and it was still keeping it just below 80 degrees which is super comfortable in here. I didn't put any extra fans up. I just flipped it on, did some other work here in the shop just to see how it would do, and it really did awesome. So these things are a 24,000 pound or 2-ton unit, however you want to look at it. And it is a, what is it, 230 volt. And it is rated, I think, at 1,000 square feet. This shop is 1,720 square feet. It's a 36 by 48 shop, and it has 16-foot walls with a gabled ceiling above that. The doors are insulated, and that is that 3-inch vinyl back insulation. That is, it's rated R10, and I'll say R10-ish because as it gets squished down behind the these things, it loses some R value, but it's pretty legit. It works pretty good. Now I plan on upping my insulation game in the future. In fact, I've already done that on this wall. I framed in and rolled in R15 insulation because I actually wanted the wall to hang stuff. And I plan on doing that all the way around the rest of the shop and completely doing the ceiling as well. On top of the R10 that's already there. Honestly, this works so good. If I had already done that, I probably wouldn't buy the second one. So if I come up here and it's like, say, 90 degrees and everything's hot, and I flip it on in the afternoon, sun's already boiling outside, it's super humid, the best I've seen it done is it'll get it down, it'll drop it about 12 degrees. And at the same time, it's really dropping the humidity. So it makes it pretty legit. So it'll keep it below 80, right at 80, 81, 82. If I get out here earlier and start it, well, that's where it'll hold it at 78, 79, right at 80 degrees, even at 96 degrees and humid outside. I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, I don't need it any colder to do any work in here, but what I'm worried about is when it's 110 outside and I'm going to be doing a lot of work, because eventually, I promise, I'm going to finish painting that car, and I'll do a video on that here coming up. I'm gearing up for it, if you're wondering whenever I'm going to get to it or not. But I don't want to have to run the AC full blast all the time. So I'm putting in another one just to make sure. And I was a little bit worried about placement. You know, is that enough to really get the air around the shop? Do I need fans? And the answer is no. It seems to do fine. I do plan on putting a couple like gym fans up here, maybe there, just to help blow the air around. But I spent a lot of time thinking about where I'm going to put the second unit, which I'm thinking, well, I've already ran the power to this back wall. So it's going to go up there somewhere, but I'm not going to overthink about where it actually lands because it just doesn't seem to be that big of a problem the way it circulates air. So one thing I wasn't ready for was how much water this actually takes out. It's a dehumidifier for sure. And so I ran my drain line all the way through the wall and just kind of poked it out the wall here, not thinking much would happen. But here, let me show you. See if you get, okay, yeah, that is a steady stream of water. It's not even that hot. It's like 75 degrees outside. It's obviously, pretty humid today, but it is a non-stop stream. So if you're going to throw a bucket under that, make sure it's a big one. And if you're wondering, this is it running. It's just not that loud at all. It's super quiet. The inside unit's even quieter. It's nice. I ordered both of these at the same time off Amazon, and they showed up on the pallet. I've got links down below to the exact models I did order. And anyway, a box truck shows up. They drop it on the driveway next to your garage, and then they drive off. I'll throw up a picture of it. The other one, obviously, I've already installed. So this one, I'm going to set up a time delay, and I'll tear down both boxes and spread everything out, and then we'll kind of review it. I could do it real time, but nobody wants to see me struggle around with packing tape and cardboard. So here we go. Well, that went a lot easier than expected. So let's see what I got. All right, now the big box number one, we've got the outside unit. This is probably the heaviest and worst part of it. It is probably about, I think it was about 80 pounds. And it's got some weight. That might be a two-person set job. How I did the other one outside is I picked it up, put it in the back of my truck, and backed the truck up to where I was going to mount it, and then I just set it on there. And you're going to see that again because that's how I'm going to do it. Now here's the magic of this Mr. Cool DIY system, is that this is your line that connects your outside unit with your inside head unit. It's pre-charged. There's, I think those are big Schrader valves in there, in each one. What happens is when you connect to that and the on the lines there, you can, well, I'll show it to you in a minute. They push on each other, and that opens them both up, and it makes that connection. And that is why you don't need somebody to come out and charge those up for you. And that's pretty much the only advantage. Now, this is also a huge disadvantage. And that disadvantage is the length of the lines. So this is the shortest one I could find, and it's 16 feet long. You can go 25 and you can go 50. I need like a 4-foot hose. I don't need all this. And so what they do is they tell you that you take this and you leave it curled up and you put it underneath the outside unit. That way, if you go this way, you could have it pulling in the bottom parts. I really don't like that idea because it's just more places for dirt and grime and spiders to grow, but I might do that here. How I got away from that on that unit is I actually ran it along the inside of the wall and down and out, and I pretty much use it all up by placement. However, in this case, I'm going to mount the outside unit right on the other side of this metal pole and the inside unit here. And so I'm going to have a lot of extra. And so I can burn a lot of it on the inside, but I'll probably end up with extra, and I'll just deal with it on the outside. I'm not too happy about that, but there really is no other way around it. And here's what came out of the smaller box. This is the head unit that hangs on the inside. This is the bottom of it. This is the automatic vent. You can see it. This one's still on and running. And you can adjust how that opens. You know, you can have it up. There's even an option where it just swings up and down, but I found that super annoying. So I just left that. And the mount to put it on the wall is on the back. I'll pop that off in a second. But this gets mounted, and then this whole thing you can lift up and connect onto it. It's not too bad. But since I am mounting this on a shop wall that is not insulated, I'm going to have to build my own mounts. But I've got a plan for that, and I'll show you that in here in a little bit. Here is the electrical connection that goes all the way to the outside unit up there at the top. And then here is the connections for the inside. And what they really want you to do is pop a hole in the wall right behind here, and then you can just turn this out, shove it through the hole, and bend her down, which would actually be that direction. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to run it a little bit differently, and you'll see it when I get around to it. And one thing. This is the intake that goes on the top, and this is another drawback to these, not that there's a lot of them, but there's no filter on this. So if you're in a dirty shop environment or kick up a lot of dust or something, this is going to be a problem. And I think what I'm going to do is you can build like a wooden box that sits on top with a couple of furnace filters. I think I'm going to do that. It's an extra pain, but I just wanted this to get all gunky and dirty, and there are chances I could get it very gunky and dirty in here, so I don't want to mess with it. All right, let's see what else we got. This is some drain hose for the outside. You saw earlier how much water actually comes out of it. Installation manuals, remote control. These are padding, like if you're going to put this on a cement foundation or wood, to set on the ground, screw it down. You put those down to help out. A little holder for remote control. Couple screws. This opens up your valves for the pressure on your outside unit, and this is stuff to help you run through the wall, which you'll see. You can wrap up some lines here, a little bit extra insulation, even comes with batteries for the remote. And then this cardboard piece you use to figure out where your hole is that you're going to put through the wall if you're going to hide it back behind the unit. You can't see it here, but I actually go in, take a hard direction that way, and then come down. I think I'll put up a picture where you can kind of see it, but this is your template that you use if you're putting it up in a house. It's really very straightforward. Since I'm putting this in my shop and I've got these big 4-foot gaps, I got to be a little bit creative about how I'm mounting everything up. Your mileage may vary. If you've got a stick build or pole barn, you would definitely approach this a little bit differently. But how I am going to do this is I'm going to use this stuff called Unistrut or Super Strut, depending on if you go to Home Cheapo or Blows. It is just U-channel with a little lip on it with a bunch of holes in the back, and you can do all kinds of stuff with it. They have these specialty bolts that kind of go in there and you can turn and they lock with little springs that you can. It makes life a little easier. I've decided to use big washers instead because it's a lot cheaper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount these on a gap in between the two, screw them in tight, and then I can take my backboard and I can mount that straight onto this. I'm going to do the same on the outside, except I'm going to bridge the gap on the bottom, and I'm going to come out a couple of feet and make a triangle out of it. That's how I mounted the other one, and I could hang off of it. It makes a nice strong mount. So I'm going to get busy making holes and making it happen. So I'll set up the time lapse again. Once again, how you do your own mounting will depend entirely on your situation. And done. It really wasn't that bad. I ended up using cut screws to mount that Unistrut or Super Strut or whatever you want to call it. That seems strong. It's not that heavy. It's like 20 pounds. It's more bulky than anything. What I have dangling is the power and control. I've got the pressure hoses, and then I've got the drain hose. So next, I'm going to build the outside mounts. Well, with lots of four-legged furry help, I was able to cut up all the pieces in the shop, pre-assemble the brackets, take them outside, drill holes through the wall, stick it all up, and then I loaded up the outside unit onto the tailgate of my truck, and with also more brown dog and black and white dog help, I was able to mount and bolt it all into place. So now I've got a nice sturdy mount, and it's time to start drilling holes, or at least just one hole in the shop wall. I kind of struggled over this because you could easily go right out the back right there of the unit by design and then run down the outside, and in a lot of ways that's easier, and I decided not to do that simply because I need about 5 feet of hose and I have 16 feet of hose, which means you have to curl it up and shove it all up underneath the outside unit. I don't like that, but there really is no other place to put that. And it's just a little bit easier for me to come out further down at this point. Also, when I deal with sealing it all up, I don't have to do it on the ladder. I can just do it all at this level. So let's take a look at the pieces and parts it's going to take to do that. This is the 16 feet of hose. I only need like that much of it, so the rest of it's going to get hidden. This are the two pieces that you can use to get it through the wall. You cut it down to however thickness your wall is. Mine's not going to be much at all. This is some extra drain tube. You will need to buy this. This is a 3.5-inch hole saw to actually cut the hole. I bought this separately. This is an outside like rain guard cover, and I picked up some extra sealing clay. This is to help seal this up, and this I'm going to use to help seal this up. So when I'm all done, I'm just not building a nice place for wasps and bees to live. And I picked this up, also Ultra Rip, and that is for the actual power. When I get to that, I'll show you how I did that. Now I've got a hole in the wall. This is next, and I'm not looking forward to this. I basically have to hook to here, go down, go out, go down again, and then go underneath the cooler on the outside, or the unit on the outside. Figure out how all these bends are going to work. I can go up to like a 4-inch radius, which is a reasonably tight bend, and then it's got to come back out of the coil underneath the cooler and go back up to the hookups. I'm not going to bring you in on that journey. I'm just going to show you when it's done, because this is probably going to be the worst part of it, and it won't be pretty. Well, it turns out it actually wasn't that bad to do. I went ahead and got the coolant lines hooked up, opened up the valves to release the pressure throughout the lines, and then went ahead and hooked up these black wire right here, that is a connection between the outside unit and that inside unit up here. I would take you out and show it to you, but they're doing some major tractor and noise outside, so probably just not going to worry about it. So now I'm just going to hook up the power. And to do that, you want to get one of these. Ultra Whips is literally designed to do that. And so I'm not going to tell you how to wire up yours. I'll tell you how I did mine, but I'm not an electrician, so your mileage may vary. So I've got several different 220 and 120 circuits at the shop. The 220, I mean, I've got more than this 100 sub-amp will support, but the idea is you don't use it all at once. Now, to stay in code, at least around the North Texas area, you need to have its own circuit for HVAC. I also went ahead and ran my own circuit for like the air compressor, and then I've got a couple convenience outlet circuits and different things like that. But each AC unit, or each heat pump, I should say, has its own 30 amp circuit. I'm running 10 gauge through 3/4 inch conduit all the way to the back, around the corner to this junction box, and then down to here. So I've got 2 circuits that come down through this conduit. One is a standalone 30 amp circuit for the air compressor. I wanted it on its own, and I've got another one that comes out, drops down through this connection, goes through the wall and out to a box on the outside. All right, I got the electrical hooked up. I still gotta drop in the connection. You can tell that is not pretty. I'm just going to make sure that it works, and then I'm going to come back in, clamp this up tight and wrap it all up. And that's what it looks like in there. I left this all exposed because I'm going to put a current meter on it and check it out. And this is where my first bit of sealing is going to go. But first, I'm going to give it some power and see if it turns on. Promising. All right, there goes nothing. Ooh, looks good. All right, sit on cool, max. Now I've had this other one running the entire day. And here's where we're at. It's 94, almost 95 degrees. That is in the shade next to my fifth wheel. And it's been 82 degrees in here. Not too bad. So we're gonna give this thing some time and see how it does. It's just been on a minute. It's already working. It's just blowing right on my back. So I'm gonna grab the current meter and let's go see how much amperage it's drawing. Right, so it's running. Let's see what one of the legs says. So 11.2 amps. The other leg would be exactly the same. So this thing is drawing just a little over 11 amps running. Oh, that feels good. It's already down almost 3 degrees. It's only been on 10 minutes maybe. It feels nice. So I still have work to do, obviously. I've got to seal up the hole. I am going to use clay to do that. It's called sealing clay, and it comes with the kit. I also bought some more off of Amazon. I will link this below, and that will help with the hole through the wall. Plus I'm going to use a whole bunch of like white caulking, and I'm going to use this as well. So I'm going to use this on the actual hole in the wall, and I will use this on this section here because I don't need bees and stuff getting up in there. Also comes with a couple extra chunks of insulation, so I'm going to zip all that up, seal it up nice, and then on the outside, when I get done squishing those coils together and mounting them, I'm going to wrap them. The kit comes with this, and the idea is that you can, it's just kind of like a needle. You can wrap everything up and set it up so it sheds water. I'll do all that. I'll button it all together. I'll be very happy. There is 2 drawbacks, and that is the length of the line. You saw I had 16 feet. I did not need 16 feet. I needed 4. So you just have to loop that up and deal with it. It's really annoying. The other drawback is it doesn't get filtered. The air just goes right through the top and right through there. And in the shop environment, that can obviously be a big problem. I went online and looked around, and people had actually built these setups where they put in regular furnace filters, and I might do that just to keep this clean, especially when I start sanding and working on that car. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and absolutely go get one of these. If these two do not have enough grunt to cool the shop in the dead of summer, which I suspect, I mean, it could get like 110, 114 degrees here. I'm just going to up my game on my insulation, which I'm going to do anyway. I'm going to try to get the whole place up to at least R20, if not R25. And other than that, I'm good to go. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope you can do this as well.